What is up, everybody? Season 11 of Alone is here this season. They are north of the Arctic Circle on the Mackenzie River Delta. This could be a pretty interesting season. They kind of tried to build it up like they're gonna be in the darkest portions of winter with 24 hours of darkness. But then in like the pre-run up, weren't they showing there still being light at 10:30 p.m., which would tell me that that's a lot closer to summer than winter. I'm not sure if we're just kind of being bluffed there. I also feel like probably a little bit difficult to film the show if it's going to be in 24 hours of darkness. Also, once again, we're led to believe that there's bears invading everywhere, wolves invading everywhere, and it's going to be the most dangerous season of all time. We did see some evidence of larger animals this first episode, but whether or not they're actually, you know, gonna be a boatload of grizzlies and wolves is remains to be seen. All right, let's jump into our actual episode. We'll run through with Cubby first. You know, we kind of knew Cubby was going to be our first tap out of the season. We had basically the spoiler of him getting the arrow in the leg, but and really I feel bad for him because he's having an okay start. Spots a squirrel, shoots at the squirrel, breaks an arrow. But at least he's like actually seen some potential food. Well, he gets a nice start to his shelter, building an A-frame. Looked like he had the basis of a decent shelter going, but he's out of the game before we ever see what that shelter will look like. The first thing my wife said when he got eliminated was, "Oh, I wish that we got to see what that finished shelter was going to look like." And then we see him walking through the bush and mentions that he's just going after big game. And instantly we know he's not winning the game. Moments after that, he has the arrow in his leg, uh, pulls it out. He kind of pokes at it a little bit, then pulls it out. Doesn't look like he hit anything major, but obviously that is the end of his journey. You never want to see somebody leave because of injury, especially not so early in the season. I believe this was day 4 when he got knocked out, and that's just unfortunate for Cubby. I hope maybe somewhere down the line he gets a shot at redemption on a season when maybe they bring back some people who really want some revenge or a second chance to prove what they got. Who's up next? Okay, Isaiah. He's a game warden. Not sure. Like he didn't seem like a full blown outdoors person, but I think that might have just been his personality. If he's a game warden, he's in nature every single day of his life. So we'll have to see how that translates over the course of the season. But he just didn't give the vibe of someone who's going to be a real strong competitor this season to me. His area initially seemed a bit swampy, which was surprising. Like I know there's quite a bit of muskeg in certain areas up there, and by nature of the area with all the rivers and lakes, there are obviously going to be some swampy, marshy type areas. And hopefully that doesn't cover too much of Isaiah's area, because otherwise I think that could be a major setback early on in the season. He did find evidence of a mama bear and cub in his area. We'll have to see if that develops into anything. If you're going to run into a bear, you don't want to run into a bear that's protecting a cub. He's kind of already in his head early on. He thinks that maybe it's just drop shock. So we'll have to see if that is something that kind of goes away for him over the course of the first week, or if that's going to be something that weighs on him and eventually leads to Isaiah tapping out. And then Isaiah got a nosebleed, and he looked like he's never had a nosebleed before. Like, he just looked like he was just standing there letting it bleed everywhere. Like, not even just he's never had a nosebleed, but never witnessed another person with a nosebleed. It was very weird. Like, if you're ever bleeding, and it doesn't even matter what part of your body you're bleeding from, you don't just like, well, I guess I just have to just leave it alone till it stops. Like, no, you do something. Pack that nose down. Find something to help out. Apply some pressure. If you have a cut on your arm and you're bleeding, you don't just say, "Oh well, I guess we just have to walk around until it stops bleeding." Like, no, you address the situation. You help yourself, and he didn't, and that was just weird to me. So, not quite on the Isaiah train just yet. Next up, we've got William. Interestingly, he brought a net, put it in. Well, I'm not sure if that was a little offshoot of a lake or a small river that he dumped that into, and immediately got a fish. Like, right away, he catches a nice pike and drops it back into the water. That's just an early season tragedy. So we'll have to see if that ends up biting William in the ass later on, or if he is going to find success other ways that will keep him in the game. He's not looking to get any big game. I always think that's a mistake to expect to get big game. Like, I know in past seasons that the people who have got big game go on to win, but if that's your strategy, it's just not going to work out for you. Such a low percentage chance that works out for you. So William, he didn't even bring a bow, and I think that's an interesting decision. I think you should probably still have a bow with you. It just seems like a useful item to have, just for, even if you're not going after big game, to try to shoot a couple squirrels, shoot a couple birds, whatever you're allowed to hunt. Just gives you that extra little way of potentially getting some extra calories. We see him eating the itchy bum berries. I like that was one of his big scenes. We saw him making a rabbit snare, and then he goes fishing with a stick, and he caught quite a few small fish. And essentially, he was using a long stick, smashing it on the shallow water, and just kind of stunning the fish, and then reaching down and just grabbing them with his hand. It was cool to see. It's not like a huge score for him, but that's a nice solid little meal that he got for himself. Next up, we have Dub. For those of you who frequent the Alone subreddit, he has been quite active in it recently, and makes me believe that he's probably going to do pretty good in the show. I think we've kind of seen that in the past, that some of the not necessarily win the whole thing, but people who become active in the viewing community generally do well on the show. So that alone gives me high hopes for Dub. So right away he spots a moose. Nope, just kidding. It was a caribou, an animal that he is not allowed to shoot. It's always frustrating to see on Alone when someone sees a potential resource and they're not allowed to use it. I mean, I understand, but just kind of unfortunate for Dub, and potentially that could mean that his area has caribou and not moose, which that kind of could take that away from him early on. So he starts building his shelter right away. Looks like he's building into a little bit of a berm. It should cut down on the time for him and how much he has to work to get something functional. He did kind of get just like a quick, easy shelter going. And after night one, when he had a bear visitor walk by his shelter, he decided, I think I'm going to need something a little more solid than this. And we didn't see the end product of that, but it looks like he's going to continue to work on and improve that shelter to get something that he is satisfied with. Lastly, we have Michaela. I was pretty excited for Michaela right at the start of the season. Geographically, she's located the closest to where I live out of any of the contestants this season. I believe there's one contestant from Idaho, but I'm kind of in central Alberta and she is from Saskatchewan. So I'll call that closer than Idaho. So I was thinking that I'd probably be rooting for her, but I don't know. I just wasn't clicking with her on this first episode. I was kind of chuckling at her duck decoys. Love to see how effective they are. Hopefully they bear some fruit for her. But yeah, we'll just have to see. They absolutely looked hilarious sitting there in the water. For just being made out of grass, she did do a good job. And I don't think ducks are super smart, so they'll probably get tricked by that. Notably, Michaela did not bring any fishing gear. We did see her get a net in the water, but to not bring any fishing gear feels like a enormous mistake to me, especially when you have some knowledge of the area. Like they all had to have known that it's like a lake river delta. Like they're given a month to prepare, given rough information about the area, and for her to opt to not bring any fishing gear, that just feels like a recipe to lose this season, especially when we hit into the freezing temperatures. Like doing some ice fishing might be your only source of potential calories once it's cold. We did see her find some squirrel remains, and she did eat the kidney. So something else killed the squirrel, left behind the kidney, and she ate it. So props to her for doing whatever it takes to get those calories in her body. But maybe questionable decision, maybe not. I don't think that's going to bite her in the ass, but we will just have to see. So that's it for week one of Alone. Sorry for being a little late on the recap. Just wasn't happening this week. I think moving forward for the rest of the season, we will hopefully be able to do reviews every Friday, hopefully at latest Saturday. And I'll just try to be on top of things a little bit more moving forward. So, as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out.